Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Tsague. I am here in studio with none other than Miss Lorna Mutegi. Lorna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Patrice. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Now, Lorna is no stranger to us, but Lorna comes today on a new in a new role as the CEO and founder of a new organization in Kenya called, let me say it right, Sunegos. Did I say it right?
You almost got it, Sunegos.
Sunegos. I love it. So Lorna
Yeah.
is the founder and CEO of Sunegos, and we're here to talk about the launch of the Sunegos Entrepreneurship Community Center. And so that, first of all, congratulations, Lorna.
Thank you, sir.
This has been a long time coming, but many of our audience are used to seeing you and hearing from you as either as a part of the Mutegi family enterprises, whether it's a school or whatever business you guys have, or as a trainer and a coach for the Nairobi Center, right?
Yeah.
They're not used to this new role, and even you're getting used to yourself, aren't you?
I keep looking. I'm like, oh my gosh, are they talking about me? Yeah, so you're right. I'm still trying to get used to myself.
my new book coming is called "The Buck Stops with You." So Lorna, the bucks truly you can't turn back to Frank or to your parents or to your sister. The all roads leads to Lorna.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's some scary stuff. I kind of just want to run back to my mom's wings and just say, oh my gosh, mom.
I love it. Well, congratulations. Lorna, I've worked with many people in my 22 years in this space. And once in a while, you work with somebody who you say, you know what, they got it. And there's that it factor. Every space have it. There's that it factor. There are some people who were born with that it factor for particular things, whether it's movies, whether it's television, whether it's music, whatever that space is, business, so forth. And from a training and coaching, that is you. You have that. You're an encourager. You're not afraid of the limelight. You're one of those people who, when I had a chance to talk to your client, those who you work with in Kenya, you leave an impression that you've become kind of the emphasis for them want to be successful. So before we go through your journey, have you been surprised by how well you've been embraced by clients and by this community? Have you been surprised by all of that growing up as a kid? Did you have this in mind for yourself?
Goodness, Patrice, am I surprised? Absolutely, because somewhere along the way. So as a young child, I was out there, fun, loving, bubbly. I was the one who loved going to hotels. I didn't want to eat at home. I loved luxury. I like the
So you've
finer things.
always been the life of the party, and you like luxury things. You're kind of like me. You're kind of uppity, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of uppity. I can't help myself, and I have stopped apologizing for that because for a minute there, I thought that it wasn't right, that I wasn't supposed to do that. But that's just me. And so I am surprised because at some point in my life, Patrice, I kind of lost my confidence there. And so just seeing myself, taking on this new role by myself has really just brought the fire back. I had lost the fire for a good old time. And sometimes when you lose the fire, you don't know. Sometimes you don't even know that you've lost it. You're just not working at your best. People get to see the potential that you have, but you don't really see it yourself. So now just hearing you talk about me, hearing my clients, giving me feedback, it just kind of reminds me who I was meant to be, even as a young child. I remember the other day I was doing a quick, I was doing it was December, so I was doing a kind of an overhaul on my home. So getting rid of all the old stuff just so that I can make room for new. And I remember seeing a letter that I had written to my younger self. And
Wow.
oh, yeah, oh boy, wasn't it so wonderful when I actually saw that I had achieved. I didn't know, but I actually had achieved a lot of what I wrote to my younger self, and also a letter to my older self. And so when I was looking, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So it
That is
still surprises
incredible.
me, but I guess it's walking in your purpose, isn't it?
It is. It is. As you
Mm,
shared that, I talked with a friend of mine from high school, one of my best friends from high school, and she was at her parents' house, and she
mm,
called me. She actually texted me
mhm.
a letter I wrote
Yeah.
her when she went to college. And in the letter, I told her what my aspiration was. And it was interesting to read it. Now I was unsaved.
Oh,
I was 17, 18 years old. And
oh,
just to
wow.
see those kind of letters are so important because when you look back, because you forget how that even in your play for self,
Mm.
you were still pressing towards a direction.
Absolutely. Even when you thought that you had lost it. I don't know how it works, Patrice. It's just the most beautiful thing. And when I read that letter, I was like, I'm on track. Girl, you are on track. Keep going. So,
I
yeah.
love it. Well, let's go back a bit, but before we do, you exemplify what walking in purpose look like. It doesn't come without trial or tests. You come from a family that you guys have tremendous succeed in business,
Mhm.
but also with that comes the trials of what that means like as a family building a business, parents who are not always there, and an environment where you're required to live up to certain expectations early, a
Mm.
family business that sometimes whereby the family dynamic, is full of the reality of business, right, versus the reality of family. So there's
Right.
success, but it also comes at a price.
Yeah.
So, and then your own ambitions sometimes get absorbed or lost in that whole process, and you got to
Mhm.
find yourself. You also made a point that was important. I stopped apologizing,
Mhm.
right? Because what happens as we come up as children, we're wired a certain way. God has gifted a certain way, but sometimes the environment or the setting or even other people somehow
Mhm.
make us ashamed or not be fully our full selves, right? So let's talk
Yeah.
about this. Let's go back. So let's take us back to kind of what were some of the ingredients that made Lorna. When you look back at childhood, let's first talk about the
Mhm.
good stuff. What are some good stuff that you said, Lorna? I thank God for this. I thank God for this. Whether it was a teacher, a parent, or a circumstance that
Mm.
kind of created a framework for who you would be then become, whether it was intentional or unintentionally.
Mm. Okay, so that's an easy one. I thank God for my parents because my parents worked very, very hard, and they purposed to expose me and my siblings. So they had they were, I don't know, I don't think they realized it, but
Mm,
back then, but they were quite visionary. They had an idea of what kind of family they wanted. And so there was a lot of exposure in terms of travel. We would do local travel, getting on planes, getting on trains, just special things like that, which you know um, make all the difference. Worked very hard to take us to good schools, and so the kind of education that we got also allowed us allowed the exposure as well, so that furthered that a lot more. So we're talking about waking up in the morning, on a Saturday morning, having breakfast together,
Wow.
listening to music,
Mm,
and we're all dancing in the sitting room. Honestly, that's what it was. My
wow.
mom making sure that we were watching the latest movies, Sound of
Mm,
Music, Top of the Pops, Heidi. I mean, it was so, and that really just played a part in
wow.
kind of creating the dream. I would always just sit down
Mm,
and I want to be a princess. I want to do that. I want to do this. So it's such a good foundation for fantasy. I think children should be allowed to fantasize
I
and
love
say,
it.
this is what I want to do. So I wanted to dance. And so my mom would support that, go for dance school. So I really do appreciate that a lot. And that really made me, who I am today.
Lorna, let's take back a little bit because for most Americans who are watching and listening,
Hmm.
listen, but Lorna grew up in Africa. They have a hard time picturing an African child growing up in the kind of environment you grew up.
Yeah.
Help us out for those of us who are struggling with that because we're used to seeing Africa in the picture of extreme poverty and and shacks and so forth. Could you help us out here?
Yeah, sure. So, a lot of Africans have grown up really, really well, honestly. Um, but what is shared, you know, in developed countries, I blame the media for that because they're selling what they're selling.
Mm.
What's the saying around I guess negative publicity. I
Yeah,
guess I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Negative news sells, right?
Negative
Good,
news.
positive news doesn't sell. Yeah.
Exactly. And so honestly, Patrice, I don't remember. I remember such a happy childhood. I mean, we were being driven in cars. I mean, we wore shoes going to school. My mom bought us the latest trendy clothes. I mean, we used to watch Top of the Pops. We used to watch the latest programs on
So,
TV.
did you ever feel as an African that that was abnormal or that you had to downplay kind of because you were an African?
That wasn't even, we were not even high end. I think
Wow.
that was middle class. I
Wow.
would say that was still middle class, so we
And
weren't even.
what's also
Yeah.
impressive is most of your education was also in Kenya, and
All
and
of it.
you all of it, and so I've told you you have international standard in your approach in your presentation, but you would think you studied overseas. So is Kenyan education that good?
Yes. I mean, we have one of the best, not even in Kenya, even in East Africa, our universities are really, really good. Okay, I'll have you know that I went to USIU, which is the United States International University. And so maybe that's where, I get some of what I have with me. But I mean, if you look at the local universities now, we've got Riara University. I mean, I shouldn't name drop, but we've got strong
Yeah.
universities here
Wow.
that a lot
Wow.
of leading, entrepreneurs have been to, even in Uganda. So the
Wow.
education system was befitting for the time, what society needed at the time, and it's now
Mm,
evolving. If you look at the Ministry
mm,
of Education, they have realized, oh my goodness, we're in the 21st century. And so the kind of people, the kind of children we need to produce need to be different. They need to actually have competencies, as opposed to just knowledge. And so we are working hard. Africa works hard. Patrice, let me tell you, this is why my fire burns for Africa. This
I
is why
love it.
yeah, Africa is on top. It has so much potential, and we're doing great things. It's just that we're not talking about it enough.
Good, good. I'm
Yeah.
talking to Lorna Mutegi, the CEO and founder of Sunegos. Tell us, we're going to talk about later on Sunegos, which is a really you are in entrepreneurial life, and tell us about Sunegos. It's more than just a community center. Kind of give
Yeah.
us a broad description of Sunegos.
Okay, so Sunegos was born from my core. So having having worked in corporate, having worked as a CEO of the family business, which happens to be a school, having been an entrepreneur, having started different businesses and failing at them, somehow something was just working out here. So my heart, so when I put myself into something, I really go for it. And so Sunegos, first of all, Sunegos means work. Sun, S-U-N. It comes, from the Greek stroke Hebrew languages. Sun means work. Ergos means work together. So my mom, I always watch my mom and my dad, of course, work very, very hard. So I'm not afraid of the work, and that comes from them. And I thank God for that. So the working together, that's what Sunegos is all about. And that's where the synergy for Africa comes in. And so for me, my heart burns for education. Having been in the education sector for 10 years, we have the first pillar, which looks into education. And then when I got into the Nehemiah Project International Ministry community, because I was coming in to train myself to be a better entrepreneur. And thank you, Nina. That's my sister. She's the one who told me, you need to get into this program. Then that's when my heart started burning for entrepreneurship, when I realized how much power I have as an entrepreneur. And so that's the second pillar that Sunegos looks into. And then the third one comes from my value system. So one of my top key values is family. And I think it's because I've truth of the matter, I'm a single mom. I've got two beautiful girls. I'm a single mom. That's not what really I had planned out, but that's what was served, and I'm dealing with that. But I would love for that to change. I'm one for family. I have been brought up in a very warm, loving family. I would have loved to do the same thing for my children. And so family is very important to me. And that also came from working with parents, understanding that, my goodness, a school cannot bring up your child. This is totally 100% ownership. Ownership should be taken up by the parent. And so that's where the three pillars of Sunegos comes in. And so the idea is to have people plug into that so that we can get you to be your best.
Wow. So it's about education, entrepreneurship, and family.
Family.
Nina, Lorna, when you think about your journey, at which point, because your parents are entrepreneurs, but at which point in your journey did that seed come for you? Say, you know what, I would like to also be an entrepreneur one day, because you saw, you enjoyed a good life with your family, but you also saw the downs of what it meant to be an entrepreneur. So you could have said, not me, that amount worked too hard. But yet, at which point in your journey did you say, you know what, I may do that for myself one day?
I think when I took the bold step into entrepreneurship is when I had a good job at a leading radio station here in Nairobi. And that's when I was just about to get my firstborn, Alyssa, who's now turning 14 in a few days. I'm like, oh my goodness, they grow so fast. And so I remember feeling, I remember feeling I wasn't satisfied. I was actually very unhappy. I think I was unhappy with the kind of work that I was doing, because I wasn't able to get things done the way I would have loved them. You know how it is, very bureaucratic kind of systems. And, when you have a fire or a passion, sometimes you need to let that out, and so when it's controlled a bit too much, you end up not being very satisfied knowing what you can do with what you have. And so that's when I decided, I actually decided that I'll go into entrepreneurship. When I was having my first child, I was still expectant, Patrice. I don't know. I'm just like thinking about it now. It's like so crazy. And oh my goodness. And I want to do it for myself. That's where the first bug bit. I want to be able to
Wow.
do this for myself. So I did it when I shouldn't have been. I should not have moved at that time. But you know how God works.
Yeah,
He was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
building this moment. But
And
that's
that's
when.
part of how you got some of these experiences. So you were CEO of your family school,
Mm-hmm,
right? So you led that for a while.
mm-hmm,
You also are now still CEO of your family has a holding company. You're CEO of that.
mm-hmm,
And you became a trainer and a coach for the Nehemiah Project. You received Trainer of the Year last year.
mm-hmm.
I've met some folks that you've trained. So you've had a mirror of successes along the way, but you also bring a point about the failures you've had, because oftentimes we learn more from our failures than we do from our success. Tell us a bit
Mm.
about that, because that's going to really be a major springboard in you relating to your entrepreneurs and what they go through. So when you think about that, what lessons did you learn from some of the challenges you had personally about some of the business that you've tried before?
Okay, so you have to allow me, Patrice. I first have to say that the failures are the best thing that could
Mm,
happen to you.
mm,
Not everyone goes through, very serious failures. I like to call them crises or crises. I'm one of the
mm,
two.
mm,
But those were the best things that happened to me, because when I look at my journey, first of all, choosing the kind of partner you want to, the kind of partnership you want to have in a business. I didn't do very well there.
mm.
Um, Thinking about financing. You're leaving your a well-paying job, and you're young, and you're like, I can do it, but there's no business plan. You're just like, I'm gonna do this, and you're kind of walking by faith.
It's
You
all
have
passion.
It's all passion, and there is no basis. There's no research around it. You're just like, self-efficacy checks in, and you're like, I think I can do this. Yeah, I know I can do it. But it doesn't really work that way. So that
Mm,
was another big learning in terms of, failures, because I used to run a spa, and I hadn't thought about how I would finance it. It was in a high-end, part of Nairobi. The rent was ridiculous, and I thought, when people come and see this space, once they come and see the pool, the sauna, and all this, they'll want to come and get a massage done. And I was like, what? Rude shock there. So these are some of the things that we talk about,
mm,
even when we're doing our training and coaching, especially for businessmen and women who want to venture out into entrepreneurship. You've got to prepare. You have got to prepare. And when you prepare, once the opportunity comes in, it's just gonna run so smoothly. So for me, it was, I didn't have a business plan. I should have been able to do that. I should have been able to run the business even when I was in employment, so that I can
mm,
continue funding the business. So
mm.
I should have thought about that. So business plan, financing, and not being prepared. Oh my gosh, those are remedies for disaster for
I
sure.
love it. I love it. And today you're helping other entrepreneurs with those. I
Yes.
love it. So,
Yeah.
so most people, though, Lorna, going through some of that and facing those kind of challenges, that would have knocked the entrepreneur bug out of them. They would have said, "Not me, not again." But that did not for you. Why?
Do you want to repeat that again, Patrice, so I can understand that?
Yeah, for most people, that would have knocked the entrepreneur bug out of them. They would have
Oh,
said never again. But
I'm
that wasn't because you have the choice. I mean, you have a family business. You could have just rolled on the comfort of your family's business. But yet you back at it again. I mean, why? Are you just like hardship?
oh God, no. But when I think about it, can I just tell you, I think when I think about it deeply, there was something that I was searching for. I
Mm,
needed to break out. I was looking for a way out. And I just needed to do me. And for a long time, I actually say that my wilderness journey was for 20 years. Why
Wow.
so long? Because it was mental slavery, and not, the block was in my mind. I mean, if you saw me, you'd think everything's fine, but for me, the wilderness was in my head, and what it was doing to me, and the kind of choices that I was making based on the limitations or the limiting beliefs that I had of myself.
Mm.
And so it was almost like I needed to just get out. I needed to do me. Everybody else sees my potential, but why don't I see it for myself? Why don't I finish what I start? Like, what's going on? And so it was a need for me to break out, because I still believed in myself. But if you asked me that 20 years ago, I wouldn't be able to explain it the way I understand it now. But it was an inner calling. It was just how I was wired, and it was important to me because I needed to be me, and I just didn't know how
Wow.
to do that. Yeah.
Wow. Elias said preparation meets opportunity. Pastor Genty, he's a fan. He says, go, Lorna, be strong and be of good courage. Joshua 1:9. Lorna,
Mm.
I'm going to have you come back for part two,
Okay.
because what we've learned so far is that you grew up in a good home, a good environment, an entrepreneurship family. So you saw hard work, you saw risk taking,
Mm-hmm.
you benefited from a family that exposed you to good education, to the nicest things in life. So we can blame your parents for your bouginess, right? My kids like
Yeah.
to say, Dad, you're so bougie. You're bougie too, I see. So your parents find things in life. But then as a
Mhm.
young person, you had this sense of life and this sense of vigor. And you, at a certain point in your life, you launched out, thought you were ready,
Mm.
and you discovered you were not. You made some mistakes in terms of partnership. You weren't
Mhm.
properly financed. You
Mm.
didn't have a business plan. And I love what she said, which is so key. Entrepreneurs, listen to this. She said she could have kept her day job and launched the business on the side, right? But then you said
Mm.
something else, Lorna. You said there was something on the inside of Lorna that had to adjust. In other
Mm.
words, I think of Joseph, right? This young man with this coat of many colors, have this drive and this dreamer, but he
Mm.
wasn't prepared, right? He had to go through a process where God does something in him. So, Lorna, I'm going to have you come back because I want to talk about how did Lorna transform herself? How did Lorna, first, because think about Lorna, first of all, most people have a hard time identifying the things you just talked about. Most have a hard time saying, I needed some things to work on the inside of me. Most have a hard time saying, you know what? Even though I can ride on the comfort of my family, there's something in me that has
Mm.
to come out. And as safe as my family
Mm.
is bondage for me,
That's right.
right? Where I prefer risk with freedom than safety without freedom. Even though you have gone through your own mistakes, even though you were scared and you were afraid, I
Right.
want to talk about that because so on our part two, I want to deal with that journey. How you came to now begin to chart your way into learning from these mistakes and getting to where you are now, which is Sunegos. Now, but
Wow.
before we leave, though, a couple of
Mhm.
things. We want to play a video because you asked the question, okay, I heard what Lorna said about Sunegos, but what really is it? She brought us a video that I want to play for you to understand what it is. And then, Lorna, I'm going to ask you to give our audience advice because part one, you help us understand that though you grew up well,
Mhm.
that there's some other stuff that you are lacking, right? And I want you to speak to our audience about how do their, whatever their circumstance, how do they stay encouraged and stay the course in spite of the mistakes they've made. Because you
Mm.
could have quit, but you chose not to. But before we do that, I want to play this video about it. If you want to learn more about Nina Mutegi, I'm sorry, not Nina, but that's her sister. You want to learn more about Lorna Mutegi and the Sunegos Entrepreneurship Center, which, by the way, is not just about entrepreneurship. I just call it because you're on time of the launch. It's about education, about entrepreneurship, about family. They have a website, lornamotegi.com. Lornamotegi.com. There you can learn about their programs. I want to also, Lorna, do you have an email? If they want to email, there's a company email or WhatsApp number where they can reach out as well if they want to know more?
Yes, absolutely. So the email is Lorna at sunergosafrica.com.
I
So
love it.
Lorna at sunergosafrica.com, and the number is 0726 141306.
Awesome. Look, team, put it up there. You got some friends here. John says infectious enthusiasm. One day says, I love that you wear your failures on your sleeves, Lorna. This is the reason why you make such a fantastic coach. The world needs you, girl. And then Deborah says, love your enthusiasm and joy, your love of Jesus, your transparency encourages others. And this is part of why Lorna is part of our HQ team, right? Because we want her to help us do this around the globe. But before Lorna wraps up, I want to play the video to kind of give you a sense of what Sunegos is. All right, as you watch this video, think about it. This is from a girl who have had trials, and despite her trials, has been able to overcome them to do what God has called her to do. And this is it. Watch this video.
For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but that of power and of love and of a sound mind. This is the conviction that Sunegos lives by. We have no fear. We know we have the power to thrive as we serve with love and wisdom. And that is how we walk into every situation that we face or any space that we occupy. Sunegos is an online training and coaching center that offers meaningful, practical, and impactful programs known for transforming men, women, families, businesses, and corporates using best practice and biblical principles. Our vision is we get to inspire Africa to live in its strength and true beauty. Through coaching and training, Sunegos has been called to aid Africa to see its true potential, to speak truth, and tell the success stories of Africa. Our training and coaching programs invoke action where action is needed by instilling thought processes that have a strong foundation that is unshakable. Our promise is that we will help you find, know, and live in the power of your identity and purpose. We will help you build your business for lasting growth, success, and community impact. And that is because we are Sunegos, Synergy for Africa.
Wow. Powerful. Powerful. This is incredible. Lorna, this is why she's, right now, Lorna is going through the process of becoming one of our master trainers. She help us train others. Lorna, how do you feel when you watch that video?
My goodness, I want to cry a little. I want to laugh a little. It's unbelievable. I get goosebumps. But then what it does is, I always tell myself, now you have to go and deliver that now. So what it does is it just gives me the drive. It gives me and my team the drive to get things going.
And we're going to talk about her team at our next podcast. Listen, stay tuned because we're going to give you some advice. So until you've been broken yourself, you cannot help others heal.
Yeah,
until you've been lost yourself, you cannot help others find their way.
Yeah.
Until you've gone through hardship, you don't know what it looks like, what it means. You can't help others heal from it.
Mm-hmm.
Had Lorna just had it, all the way through in a nice, path where she has no struggle to glean from, she could not teach us the things that she's teaching us now. That video is not just a commercial or an aspiration. It's her life. She fell down and she got up again. not one time, but over and over again. She has a testament to tell us that we can too. So, Lorna, that many of us watching and listening, and they're saying, okay, Lorna, I am down right now. I don't know. I've had that failure or that difficulty. I don't know if I can make it. What advice would you give them?
Okay. So, first of all, I just want to um, let you know, whoever is listening to me right now, it doesn't matter what kind of family you're born into. Um, it doesn't matter if it's from a line of, a background of poverty, or, or you're well off. It doesn't matter. What matters is you as a person. Okay, so I was brought up, and I had everything that I wanted, but it just boiled down to me. And so it is so, so important that you know who you are and have both feet grounded. You have to have both feet. And I know that sounds like a parable, but what it means is you first of all have to accept who you are. I used to apologize a lot for bringing the energy in the room because of certain experiences that happened in my home that made me feel, you don't need to speak up, because that's not what you should do, girl. Keep your mouth shut. But you can learn to speak. You can learn to give your opinion in a way that suits everyone in the room. And the way you do that, the way you get what you want, is by learning who you are. And so, to be honest, and this is not a sale. This is not a sale. The Identity and Destiny program that we run, at Sunegos, which was born from, the partnership that we have with Nehemiah Project, saved my life, because I began to understand what my values are, what's important to me. And you cannot disconnect that from anything that you do. Your identity, your purpose aligns with your business. I cannot wake up every day to run Sunegos unless it is aligned to what I believe in. I have to have a conviction. I have to, you have to have a conviction. You have to know what it is that you were born for, and go out there with that conviction. So I say, if you're not sure, if, life has, you feel like it's crushed you, sign into an identity and purpose program. And this is one of the most transformative ones we have in Africa. And I say that guaranteed. So get to know who you are. And then what happens is that you start armoring yourself with resilience. You cannot do business if you don't have thick skin. You cannot do business if you don't have the resilience, because the marketplace is one of the most difficult places to navigate. You don't understand why clients are not picking up your product that you believe in. And so you have to start thinking about strategizing around that. So you must prepare by getting to know who you are first, and then that will help you align with your calling, or what kind of business you want to do. And when you protect yourself, now hear this, I protect myself with resilience, but I also got to protect myself with the word of God. Because and beginning to do things out of love and becoming teachable, you have to get into a community that is vouching for you and is encouraging you. If you're around people who are not positive about what you're doing because the idea is yours, then you're in the wrong space. You want to be in a community that's really just for you. So every entrepreneur has to be in a community, because that's how we get up, get through the highs and lows. You get to learn from other entrepreneurs, and they'll be like, I went through the exact same thing, but this is how you need to get out of it. You can't do business alone. And so the support system is so important. And so plugging into a community, being teachable, having a best practice model. The God that I serve is a God of excellence. He is a God of excellence. So what makes Lorna think that whatever I'm putting out there should be mediocre, right? And so with all that put together, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter, the one thing that will never leave us in entrepreneurship is challenge. 2022 will come with its own set of crises, with all its own set of challenges. We are always in that mix. And so we have to be ready. And entrepreneurship is not for it's for those who got thick skin. So first, get to know who you are. What is your superpower? What are your abilities? What are your skills? What are your talents? You have to be systematic about it. Once you know that, then it makes understanding entrepreneurship, it makes understanding family, it makes understanding relationships so much easier. So much easier. So I would say stay the course, stay the course. And the scripture
Wow.
for me that helps me stay the course is 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, where I know that I cannot walk in fear. I'm walking in love, and God has confirmed that I have a sound mind, and so I have the power. Yeah. So
I love it. I love it. Get into a community, go
mhm.
into a program like Identity Destiny. As a matter of fact, the Sunegos Center has a program coming up, and stay the course. Lorna, would you come back for part two?
I would love to, Patrice. I would love to.
Because you had a decision to make.
Mhm,
Stay with the family, play it safe,
mhm,
with all the guarantees that it comes with. Go out on your own. And you chose
mm,
to go out on your own. And we're going
yeah.
to talk about what that looks like. We're going to break down what the service you're providing, how you're helping entrepreneurs, what your vision is, your team. And then we're going to talk about how you are becoming now a master trainer to help us
Mm,
certify other entrepreneurs around the world.
I would
Well,
love to,
Lorna,
Patrice. Thank
thank
you.
you so much for having you. Listen, I hope you enjoy this podcast. If you want to know more about Lorna, Mutegi, and the Sunegos program, visit them on their website, lornamotegi.com. Did I say it right?
That's right. Yeah.
lornamotegi.com. There you can learn all about Lorna and the Sunegos Center, their upcoming classes, their program, their coaching program, how you can plug into them to work with you as you seek to transform your life, your business, and your family. And if you want to know about Nehemiah Project, you can visit us at nehemiahecommunity.com, nehemiahecommunity.com. They can know about our training, coaching, access capital program, and also how to plug into community. With that said, if you enjoyed this podcast, if it really touched you, share it. Share it with friends, share it with family. If you know other women, other men who have gone through what Lorna has gone through, who have given up, share with them. Say, hey, if Lorna did not give up, you should not either. Okay, share with them. With that, let me pray for you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that are under your care. And may the Lord enable you to steward them in such a way that one day you will hear those wonderful words, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. He'll now make you over much. God bless you. Thank you for watching and listening. Lorna, thank you so much. God bless.
Bye bye. Thanks.